A dictatorship reigns on the distant planet Kaidan. The cruel ruler Admiral Skorba wants to enslave the whole world. But there are still daredevils on his planet who are ready to resist the evil dictator. A talented scientist Yang endows his newborn son with superpowers in the hope that he can save the universe. Skorba quickly finds out about this and flies to the scientist's laboratory to get rid of the dangerous child. To save his son, Yang puts him in a spaceship and launches him to Earth. Immediately after this, the Admiral bursts into the laboratory with his guards and his daughter Agatha. The girl can read other people's minds, and with the help of her ability she will find out where the super child was sent. So Agatha receives the first important mission from her dictator father. She will have to fly to Earth and return the son of the scientist to Kaidan. On the way, the spaceship with the boy crashes into a satellite, which causes it to end up in Spain, and Agatha loses track of it and goes to the USA. The boy's ship is found in the field by a married couple and they decide to adopt an unusual mustachioed child. The Lopez family quickly realized that they had adopted an unusual baby. All attempts to shave off the child's mustache ended in failure. The hair returned in a moment. Little Juanito Lopez easily lifted the car over his head, threw people through walls and burned objects with his eyes. Thanks to his superpowers, the boy easily won a football match alone without giving a single pass to the other players in the team. Due to the strangeness of the boy, no one came to him for his birthday. Parents advise the boy to become more mediocre and try not to stand out among others if he does not want everyone to continue to consider him an eccentric. Juanito makes a wish to become normal and since then begins to hide his superpower from everyone. 20 years pass. Already an adult, Juan wakes up from a call from his boss and best friend Jamie, who wonders why Lopez is not at work. The guy lies to a friend and diligently pretends that he has been in the office for a long time. Thanks to his abilities, he gets to his workplace before Jamie arrives there to check. The boss tells his friend that he has hired a new employee with whom he plans to start a romantic relationship. He says that a spark flew between him and the girl at the interview and that's why he wants to throw her a memorable welcome party. Juan does not support his friend's initiative and leaves for breakfast. The doorbell rings and Lopez uses his supervision to find out who is behind the door. It turns out that the new employee is his former classmate Louise. Juan has been sympathetic to the girl since university days, so he invites her to a welcome party. The party turns out to be super boring, despite Jamie's best efforts to create a festive atmosphere. Louise goes to another office to complain about this to a friend. Juan overhears her conversation and finds out that the only thing that pleases the girl is the presence of Juan at the party. Hearing this, the guy breaks into a smile and decides to save the party by getting ice for drinks. While Juan leaves to freeze the water, Louise leaves. Lopez runs after her and finds the girl in the subway station on the opposite side of the platform. Due to his speed, he runs into Louise's car to ask her out. A couple's romantic dinner is interrupted by a rowdy crowd of teenagers who burst into the pizzeria. Louise is angry with their behavior, and she decides to deal with the impudent kids. Juan tries to calm his girlfriend, but in the end, the teenagers set up his fall. The guy is furious at what is happening, but cannot punish the children, remembering his promise not to stand out. But, like any superhero story, Lopez's life comes to a turning point that forces him to use his powers. Such a moment overtakes Juan in the subway, when the train's brakes fail. To save people from death, the man throws himself onto the rails and runs to the next station. He tries to stop the train with his hands, but finds that only Spider-Man can do the trick. The train rushes on at full speed, and Juan is pressed tightly against the glass of the car. But Lopez does not give up and runs to the next station with lightning speed to stop the transport with a fire hose. Unfortunately, Juan is not familiar with the laws of physics, otherwise he would have predicted what would happen next. The train stops for a moment, but, according to the principle of a stretched slingshot, immediately flies back. This entire performance is filmed by video cameras from Chit Technologies, owned by the grown-up Agatha. All this time on Earth, the girl has been developing a variety of robotics so that her machines are in every home. With the help of them, she planned to find Juan, but her search was simplified by the incident on the subway, which had been all over the news since morning. So Agatha finds out where to look for the supernatural guy and goes to Spain with her army of robots. Meanwhile, back at the office, Louise complains to Juan about Jamie's attention on her. Also, the girl scoffs at the news about the Spanish superhero, not knowing that he is right in front of her. She says that it is much more logical to hear about superheroes from the USA or England, and no one needs a Spanish Superman. Jamie interrupts their conversation with the news that the famous businesswoman Agatha Muller has arrived in Spain. The villain herself, upon arrival, calls her father, reporting that her mission will soon be completed and he will be able to take her home. Skorba does not believe her daughter's success and reproaches her for the fact that the search has dragged on for 20 years. He promises to burn the earth down, along with Agatha if she doesn't get Lopez by his visit. Juan is on the bus for a second date with Louise. Suddenly, he begins to hear a loud noise in his head, which turns into Agatha's voice. The girl mentally sets up a meeting for Lopez in the Chit Technologies building, to which the guy must come if he wants to know what's going on. Agatha tells the man the truth about his origins and offers to go with her to their planet, where people will admire his abilities, and not condemn them. Juan refuses to believe it and is about to leave the lair of the villain. The girl reads his mind and sees that he is in a hurry to go on a date with Louise. She tries to detain Juan until her father arrives, but the guy quickly cracks down on her guards and leaves the building. Then Agatha has a new plan, and she orders her robots to get Louise's DNA. At the office, a robotic vacuum cleaner reads Louise's lip print on a cup and sends the information to its owner. This is noticed by Jamie and he tries to stop the process, but the evil creation declares a hunt for him and transforms into a spider. The boss is saved by the janitors, who help him destroy the vacuum cleaner, but the robot has already managed to transfer Louise's DNA to Agatha, so Jamie decides to go to the girl's house to warn her of the danger. Juan is late for his date and comes to Louise's house to apologize. The upset and tipsy girl confesses her feelings to him, but the guy cannot reciprocate them. He knows that Louise likes his friend and must first explain himself to him. But Louise manipulates the guy and he kisses her goodbye. Jamie witnesses the kiss and resents his friend. He is immediately recruited by Agatha and demonstrates a robot that looks exactly like Louise. She promises that if Jamie helps her, then the real Louise will be his. The next day, Juan still decides to ask his adoptive parents about his origin. They confess that they found him in the field and show the guy the spaceship in which he arrived on this planet. Juan accidentally turns on the projector, and his real father reveals that Lopez must go back to Kaidan and save them all from the bloodthirsty Scorba. Even after knowing his destiny, Juan still refuses to be a superhero. Inside the ship, Lopez's mom finds a fabric with the letter C on it, and they decide to make a real superhero costume out of it. Now the parents are not opposed to the guy standing out and going to save the world under the name Superlópez, so they persuade their son not to resist his fate. The badass superhero starter pack includes the ability to fly, but Juan has never tried it yet. To take off, the guy jumps off the outbuilding, but falls to the ground like a stone. The neighborhood kids mock Juan's costume and give him the middle finger, unexpectedly helping him figure out this superpower. In response, the guy makes the heavy metal goat horn sign, and begins to levitate. Having made the same sign with his other hand, Juan rises into the air at great speed and flies away in an unknown direction. Superlópez spends some time on mastering the new possibility of his body and returns back home. There he is found by the robot Louise, who comes to visit him. She takes the guy to his room and says that she knows that he is from another planet and insists that he return to his world. Juan notices the girl's strange behavior, but still decides to change the subject and ask about what yesterday's kiss meant to her. Agatha, who controls the voice of the robot, is unaware of this event, and then the offended Jamie intercepts the microphone. Acting as Louise, he accuses him of betraying a friend and says that their kiss was just disgusting. Lopez agrees with the girl and says that Jamie is his only friend and the last thing he wanted to do was hurt him. These words touch Jamie and he no longer wants to continue helping Agatha to carry out her evil plan. Then the villain takes control of the robot again and tries to enslave Juan with the help of force. Robot Louise kisses Lopez, after which she smashes him through a wall. Between the guy and fake Louise, a fight breaks out, in which Lopez is helped by his adoptive parents. When the robot tries to attack Lopez's mom, Juan blows her head off with a huge piece of ham. But Agatha does not plan to stop, and now the real Louise is in danger. Juan meets her and confesses that he has superpowers. The girl does not believe him, and then he shows the superhero suit and prepares to defiantly take off. The other superhero cosplayers don't like this and challenge him to a fight. While Juan is trying to deal with competitors, Louise is kidnapped, and Agatha telepathically transmits a new message to him. The guy quickly deals with the cosplayers and flies to Agatha's office to save his beloved. Inside the building, he sees bound friends. As soon as he begins to release them from all the speakers in the room, a nasty sound begins to be heard, which deprives Lopez of strength. Jamie asks Louise to confess her feelings to Juan to cheer him up, but it doesn't work. But as soon as friends begin to insult Juan, he becomes furious and filled with energy. With the help of laser beams from his eyes, he manages to make a safe passage in the wall and free his loved ones. By then, Scorba comes to Earth for a visit. Agatha once again failed to catch Juan, and therefore her father calls her the shame of the family. This becomes the last straw for the girl, and she decides to end Scorba forever by tearing out his oxygen hose. After reading her father's last thoughts, Agatha sees that he is now proud of his daughter, because now she has become the new dictator. Juan makes it clear to his family that he no longer wants to be a superhero and tries to burn his costume. But they are interrupted by Agatha, who flew to Lopez's house on a space saucer. After landing on the ground, she presses the red button and her vehicle transforms into a combat vehicle. While Papa Lopez distracts the villain, Juan has to run for his costume again. The final battle begins. Juan's relatives are trying to help the guy in the fight against the villain. Agatha has never known paternal love, so she decides to first eliminate Lopez's dad, who is desperately protecting his adopted son. She begins to target the man with a huge vacuum cleaner. Despite all efforts, Juan could not hold his father and he ends up inside the robot. After that, Agatha throws Juan back and he gets on the football field in the midst of the match. The guy steals a soccer net to drop onto a robot, but the wind causes it to fall on Lopez's mom. The immobilized woman is also sucked in by the vacuum cleaner. Gradually, the guy runs out of strength and Agatha just starts stomping on him with the robot's foot. Then Louise comes up with a plan. She asks Jamie to distract Agatha while she drives up behind the robot. While the robot is busy hunting Jamie, the girl yells at Juan to do the same trick that put him on the ground on their first date. A new surge of strength is given to the guy by his foster parents and best friend, who shout insulting phrases and mockery at him from the vacuum cleaner. Juan soars into the sky, tells Agatha that he is Superlópez and freezes the robot with his icy breath. This allows the guy to easily push the robot away, after which he trips over the car and falls right into a pool. The villainess is defeated and now Louise recognizes that her lover is a real Spanish superhero. Their moment is interrupted by Mother Lopez, who tells her son that his biological family is still waiting for him to save them. But the guy has already come up with a solution. He sends Agatha and one of the cosplayers to his home planet instead of himself. Superlópez's parents mistake the cosplayer for their son and appoint him as the new ruler of the planet Kaidan. The fight between Superlópez and Agatha was filmed by neighborhood kids, and since then the whole country has heard about the first Spanish superhero. Now Juan is trying to live his superhero life, flying around the neighborhood and saving humanity. But his heroic deeds cause a flurry of discontent among people, as the Spanish government had to increase taxes to pay for the damage after all the destruction. Louise is also unhappy with Juan's eternal impulses to save the world, because of which he is constantly late for dates. But the guy's real adventures are just beginning. At the cafe, Superlópez notices a strange man with a teleporter, who hints to the guy that they will meet again soon.